few months ago, we finally recovered from a long injury and was able to walk again as brothers. Working hard and diligent, transforming ourselves from a walking meme to a hulking cat. For so many expansions have we been neglected, but now they're on their knees begging to play. It felt good to see my fellow Retributions do well again, even though they lost 0-3 in the tournament. I hear the voices of many upset turbo nerds. So I figured I'd check the forums with the coolest people on earth, my stream. Clearly, there's a lot of complaints. Some even blaming Savix for this cause. Was it really my fault though? No. August 27th, 2020. I was one of the first few Ret Paladins to test out the Shadowlands, and I simply asked for mobility buff, long arm of the law, and divine protection, a damage mitigating ability. September 23rd, 2020. Blizzard simply ignored my request and boosted our burst potential and gave us a giant, massive healing buff. I'm not sure why Blizzard chose to make this decision, but I guess it was a simple fix of tuning the numbers, giving damage, and healing. The Retribution Paladin community did not want this. However, what choice do we have? We do not balance the game or make the rules. And for the gorillas out there throwing dirt in my name, I want to correct you. I've actually been fighting for a lot of classes, not just for Rets. Even in my newer videos, asking for Mistweaver, Unholy DK, Fury Warrior Outlaw, all the underdog classes to be buffed or have a rework. So if you don't know me, shut your ass up. At least we're out here trying to help. For this video, I brought upon the best Paladins representing NA and EU, Vanguards and Mystic, to talk about what needs to be changed for the turbo nerds to settle down. And maybe, like some of my previous videos, Blizzard might listen and make some good changes. At the start of the expansion, I think our healing was way too strong, but with the nerfs coming in, I think it is a lot more reasonable. Also, our class not having mobility or CC to PO, our heal is something that covers up for a lot of those we lack in.
Yeah, and if you take away work right now, then how do you peel? I mean, you've got like these basic stuff like slowing people, freedom, and stuff
our
like
slow's
that.
on a 30-second cooldown too. So.
Like even last expansion, a lot of the time, if I wanted to help my team live, I would literally just stand there and cast flashlight.
Right.
You do that until you.
Right, exactly.
You don't need to do that now because you have Word of Glory, so you can use that instead.
I would love if like the spec itself got like an entire redesign, so it's not like it had more than just healing. That way the healing could be lower. But in its current state, I think it's like after the 20% walk nerf, especially I like to talk about. It's a lot of classes actually can out heal us pretty easily if we're not completely fully focused on healing, and that goes for the other hybrid specs. Honestly, if like a Shadow Priest and a Rep both focus fully on healing, I'm pretty sure Shadow Priest actually wins on healing. Granted, like some people argue like they have to cast out Shadowman and we just use Wog, but I mean we have to build Holy Power too. So
right.
I mean if they could like if Shadow Priest got changed to not be able to cast Shadowman and then they have to like build it up instead, it's just different systems really, right? We're comparing like apples and oranges sometimes.
I agree. I think with the 30% nerf to Healing Hand and 20% nerf to Ward of Glory, we're still doing fine, but if we were to get nerfed more in our healing, I feel like we would need something in return to compensate the damage done. Because that's how our class is. We don't really have much outside of our healing.
I think the problem was just having people drop to 10% and then Word of Glory back to full HP. I think that just like creates this illusion of it being a huge, insane problem. And like the underlying
Right.
issue of why that's even happening in the first place isn't looked at. It's just, well, how can you go to 10% and then top yourself? That's insane. And it is insane. I completely agree with that.
Right.
But like,
What do you guys think
it
about
shouldn't be
that,
happening.
then? Uh-huh.
I kind of think if they were to just redo, let's like, obviously like I think redesigning, adding, POs and stuff would be cool, but going for something simpler, like redesigning Healing Hands altogether,
Uh-huh.
and then maybe make us move back to Selfless Healer, and then like if Selfless Healer is too weak, maybe like, just balance it around that instead, because that way it's more about consistent healing rather than 5 to 100. He walked for 18k, and then people go like, oh my god, 18k every walk minus 20%, that doesn't do anything. But if you actually play red, like obviously we don't hit a walk for 18k every time. If we did, we actually would be completely broken.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People always meme about our walks being 20k the whole game, and it's like obviously that's not true. There's a lot of conditions for that, but it'd be nice if the 20k walks wasn't possible at all. Yeah, and we just did like consistent healing, because people obviously seem to hate high numbers, and I think high
One
numbers
big
get
number,
poked at a lot.
Yeah,
It's also like our wing that increases 20% healing and 20% crit, so it's obnoxious, especially if you're super low, right?
Yeah.
I feel like instead of nerfing Water Glory baseline, they should have nerfed Healing Hand.
I think before the 20% walk nerf came, I always said if people if there was something we could touch for Reds, I think nerfing Healing Hands and Ring Clarity are like the two things for Reds, and I think just those two things
that's
would be
exactly
like perfect.
what I said too.
Oh boy. The damage.
The main thing I think is like Ring Clarity when it comes to red damage being the casino thing. Because
Uh-huh.
usually, even if you just proc Ring Clarity and nothing crits, it's kind of like actually okay. Or if you just crit a Divine Tone and Ring Clarity doesn't proc, obviously that's that's like within normal damage as well. It's like a 9k judge, which it's a big number, but obviously it's not going to one shot anyone, right? And that's still like within the normal number nowadays.
Right.
I think the problem is because there's like so much RNG factor stacked with the Ring Clarity conduit. In I think it's a 1 out of 18 chance if you have 30% crit during wings, let's just say, you can do a triple crit, and that would just literally, it just ends the game instantly.
Right.
It only has to happen once.
1 out of 27,
well
actually, my bad. Yeah.
Yeah, like that just has to happen once for a lot of hate to be put forward.
Right, and then you see
class.
all these clips where all the Reds are like one-tapping people, but they don't see the other side where if it doesn't hit the RNG, you literally did nothing, right?
Yep, it's
I mean,
today Sidu made a clip of his Windwalker getting like probably like 70 to 0, but if you watch like the full game, you could see like there's a bunch of ring like Divine Tolls where they don't get one shot. Obviously, not to say that the one shot is fair. That's like the problem, right? Is the fact that can happen.
Right.
Is I think just crit. Honestly, I kind of like 175 crit personally over the 150. It's not 200 either right now. It's just like in the middle. But I think adding an additional layer of RNG such as Ring Clarity or Convoke is another big one, of course. It just makes like a really like a type of toxic gameplay style, or where whether it's OP or not being out of the discussion still, just the fact that it's so dependent on RNG is bad for the game.
Yeah, I think most of us agrees on the damage being way too absurd. If Divine Toll was to be reworked, what would your inputs be?
Definitely removing the chance for it to hit multiple times for sure. And I think what Sam said earlier was when we were talking, just having it be a flat damage modifier is totally fine. Or even having maybe some sort of like maybe increasing your mastery more than it does right now, because I mean they tie in together, right? If you're using Pelagos, so I guess it could be just a flat mastery boost if you when you press.
So it's like a trinket almost instead of doing hammer damage.
Exactly. Because to be honest, I mean, from my perspective, the way I even use it right now, I don't press it hoping that I'm gonna randomly win the game. Or obviously, it's nice if I do, but I've pressed it fully expecting it to just be part of like a sequence of what I'm gonna do. I get it for mastery buff. I'm gonna do some more damage afterwards. I never want it to win the game for me. If it does, sure, that's great. But yeah, just like boosting the damage or like a mastery buff or something would be really cool because it's kind of how it's used anyway.
Right. Okay. Vanguards.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. I think just a base damage boost. Even when the first Ring Clarity nerf came in, I even called it at the time. I was like, okay, first of all, this is not enough. The top end of this is still going to be really high. And then they nerfed Divine Toll, which I was kind of sad about because I feel like the baseline of Divine Toll, if it wasn't for Ring Clarity, is like exactly where it should be. But yeah, basically same as what Brian said. I think Ring Clarity should just be redesigned to Conduit completely. You know, base damage. It could be like almost anything. I think something super simple is just like Divine Toll now gives X% more damage when you use this Conduit, and they could even change it to like give a haste buff, a mastery buff. You know, almost anything that's just not RNG would work.
One of the things that was good about Ret last expansion is that you had Hammer of Reckoning, right? So you'd have every minute you'd have a
Dude, I
window where
actually
you could
miss
burst,
that,
right?
man.
I
like
miss it
when
too.
I press.
I hate the new one.
Yeah, it just comes out randomly, so it's like, do I have my burst? No, I don't.
I've had games where I've literally seen, all right, cool, I'm on like 49 stacks. All right, cool, my next auto attack procs, and I will just de-target. I will stop auto attacking and wait until I can do my go. Like, and that's just so insane to me. How is that a thing that I'm doing? But yeah, one of the things I do like about Divine Toll in general is that it gives you like this 1 minute burst window, right? It's super important to be able to do that as Ret. It's like really bad if you just rely on wings every 2 minutes. So yeah, it would be nice if the Conduit was just like changed to be something in line with that.
One last thing before we go. I don't think it's a huge deal, but it is frowned upon. What do you guys think about the Prot Legendary plus the Conduit with the World of Glory? Should it stay for Red Paladins? Should it go away? It's a nice toolkit, but it just makes the game more dampening, and people get super annoyed about Reds. And
I obviously use it because competitively.
Yeah, you have to use it. I've been saying you have to.
I don't like that. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Like I use it because I kind of feel like I have to when there's something better.
You definitely have to.
I don't use it, right?
You're putting yourself to a disadvantage. Like whenever I fight a mirror or anything, and the other red has it and I don't, it feels really bad.
Yeah, I don't like that Conduit or the like Legendary. Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, they could make it not work, but I think the problem with this talk was that there's actually a lot of other Legendaries that are like this, kind of like the Moonkitten one.
Right.
They have something very similar. I think it gives them some extra frenzy regen.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I agree. In general, I think we have too much defensive toolkit already, and for like not just like the game itself. And if you watch AWC, these games sometimes go to damp 9, 70, 80% dampening constantly, and anything to make the game not like that, I always will favor. So yeah, I agree. I don't like the Legendary.
I did tweet out saying DPS spec should not be able to use like healing or tank legendaries, because Pharaoh sometimes they even use the Regrowth Legendary and they just heal like a healer. Did you want to say anything, Brian, about that?
I mean, I kind of like it, but
it's really strong.
If it was the Ret Legendary, would it be okay?
No, I don't like the Legendary. I don't like defensive Legendary, so this is more of a me thing.
Okay.
I don't like Triune Ward. I don't like the Prot Legendary, so I'm trying to just be like consistent, I guess, in general. Defensive. I feel like there's too much defensive stuff in the game. Like Battlemaster is so strong, like you talked about, right?
Yeah.
And it makes the game so boring sometimes because I feel like the most optimal way to play WoW is kind of like how Cloud9 plays it, if I'm going to be honest. Battlemaster, where everything defensive you can,
100%.
Play really slow, and then catch your opponent off guard for 1 moment. And as long as you play a comp that can take advantage of that, that's the most consistent way to win, right?
Yeah, that's 100% the best. Like,
But
that's
it's
the best.
so
way to play it.
boring. I hate it.
Yeah, I feel like it makes it so boring. Even for the viewers, like you can see it in the comments, they literally hate it.
I have to watch every Cloud9 game and I don't like it. I'm not a favor of dampening stuff. I feel like this game has enough defensive stuff going on that we don't need more, personally. So I stand on it.
I guess it's just sometimes the offensive tools and offensive capabilities that some classes have is so ridiculous that it kind of justifies it in my mind. But it's like, well, a mage can literally combust and kill me on his own from 100%.
Right.
So it's like, well, sure, I can trade my bubble for that, but then what do I do for the next one? And I know it's a team game. I know you have cooldowns to rotate amongst your team.
No, you're totally right. It
I think
doesn't fit
that's
the rotation.
Yeah, that's like just a justification in my mind. Like the offensive capabilities of some classes are so ridiculous that I'm like, well, it's kind of nice to have this legendary, I guess. And then when
I
you face
honestly
it,
feel like our defensive should be more balanced around like our class, not borrowed powers like legendaries or conduits.
yeah,
It'd be nicer if it was just something we
we've had mechanics like this legendary before. Not exactly the same, but we used to have Sacred Shield, right? When we dropped to 20%, we'd get an absorb.
Uh-huh.
So the class has had these kind of
Right.
safety, like fail-safe mechanics, like auto bubble in Legion, Sacred
Mhm.
Shield in Kata. I don't know if we had anything in Mob, but like it's not new to have something like this that where you become a little bit harder to kill as you drop low. And I think at the end of the day, because we don't really have any damage reduction outside, like we have a shield, right, which we like,
Yeah, we
call
have 0
wall or
damage
whatever, but
mitigation.
there's
That's
no
not
actual
even, like-
mitigation.
yeah.
And so that's why I feel like the legendary it gives us mitigation that we otherwise don't have. I know not every class has mitigation. Like mages just have a bunch of shields on a 25-second cooldown.
Cauterize, obviously. Yeah, if you talk about cheat deaths.
Yeah,
like,
that's their
Dude,
mechanic.
I always talk about that. People complain about auto bubble, but
they have
like,
auto
cauterize, you get a mobility and a healing. It's like if they press it, I wouldn't say anything.
right out there. I think it's a dumb mechanic that it's auto like that.
I think we had a fruitful conversation. Obviously, we had a lot of ideas for a nice rework, especially Vanguards, mentioning Mist of Pandaria Red with Emancipate and Blinding Light, but sadly, we left them out since it's less likely for Blizzard to add big changes. What was the whole point of this video, some might ask? Honestly, this video is for the people to understand how Reds work, what the problems are, especially for Blizzard, because sometimes they do nerf the wrong abilities. With a simple fix to Divine Toll RNG, I think the turbo nerds will settle down, so it is up to you, Blizzard. Will you listen this time? Or ignore us once again?